I see a lot of comments about N'Keal Harry and versus Jakobi Meyers, which it's just weird to me that we have to make that
It
comparison.
is, though. I can't. I think it's natural, Evan. I get it. It's just really hard for every single thing that Myers does to not be somewhat of a referendum on Harry. And it's not because of any reason other than, and again, this is what I wanted to get into. You watch Harry struggle to do the littlest things, and you're looking for that glimmer of hope from him through a year and a half just to see, like, I get it. That's what he does. And you haven't seen it at all. And again, we've made some defense of him, when he probably didn't deserve it, okay, he's starting to make some strides in this and that. And Jakobi Meyers just comes out of, mothballs, and he's not just making plays. He's open by 5 and 6. He's open by a mile every time he's throwing the ball. I mean, again, this is stuff that I'm sure you're seeing on the film. I don't know what the coverage is on him in this game. Again, we can't see it from the broadcast angle, but I mean, he is just running free every single time you see him and Cam deliver the ball. He's clear of his guy by several yards. And this is a guy, again, who ran the second slowest 40 time in the 2019 draft class coming out of college. And he's always open. He's 7'11".
Yeah, so the one guy that when I watch Jakobi Meyers at the intermediate level, I'm not necessarily talking about the shiftiness at, on the jerk routes and the option routes and on the short part of the field. I just watch Jakobi, and I watch him at the top of the route, and I watch his ability to find zone coverage. And it's clear to me that him and Julian Edelman have to be close behind the scenes. And maybe that's sort of an underrated kind of relationship that we haven't talked about because no one's really asked either guy, or either guy hasn't really come out and said it. But the way that Meyers works at the top of his route, the way that he kind of leans into the coverage and then breaks his routes off, the way that he sets DBs up for his route breaks, the way he finds soft spots in zone coverage at that level of the field, all those types of things just are so Edelman-like that it's hard for me to believe that Jakobi Meyers isn't just sitting there in practice or in game film review and watching Jakobi Meyers or watching Edelman over the years and just taking notes, right? What is he doing? How is he getting open?
Right.
That type of technique at the top of the route and the way that he's been able to find the soft spots in zone, like on that last play that set up the field goal, that's just a deep in cut against zone coverage, right? The Jets are backing off in zone. He's just going to run 12 yards and out and in, just deep in cut. And those types of routes and that type of setup. And I think the thing that's crazy to me is that he makes defensive backs somehow respect his speed, even though he doesn't have speed. So he'll run a route and he'll vertically release down the field and he'll get guys to backpedal. And I'm just thinking to myself, watching the corners backpedal, why are you backpedaling? He's not going to run by you. And even if he does try to run by you, you're going to be able to recover as an NFL DB. But his technique is what it is, that it's so hard to tell where is he going to do. Is he going to stop down? Is he going to break in? Is he going to break out? And there's so many options off that branch that it's just too difficult to stop.
I almost keep waiting for him to turn into a pumpkin in that regard. Like, you think, okay, people will start game planning, watch enough film and be like, oh, just defend him this way. Why are you defending him that way? And then it's all going to go away. But then he has a game like this where, again, he's just, you would have no idea that this guy was, he has the pedigree that he has, because he looked like the most dynamic playmaker on the field for either side. It's amazing. I think what people want to know now is, did the Patriots, and again, you saw flashes his rookie year, and it's like, oh, this is a nice little thing, but you're not counting on him among, your assets when you're looking at, because right now, here's where we kind of are with the Patriots. Like, it's nice. They're 3-5. You could feel that maybe the season is on life support right now. You had to get this win. You did pencil it in as a win. If you lost it, you'd be, but I mean, this is asset management at this point. What do you have going forward? And Jakobi Meyers, I don't even think in the weeks leading up to this game, people would have said, oh yeah, we've got Meyers coming back next year. Now you start to wonder, like, is this a thing? Is Jakobi Meyers actually someone who's going to be a staple of this offense? Is he the next Edelman, as you pointed out, a real valuable possession receiver that other teams are going to have to game plan for. And that's, if you're a Patriots fan, somewhat exciting, because it is something that they've always had, from Welker to Edelman to whatever. And if Meyers is able to step in and be, I mean, even a fraction of what we saw today, that's certainly something.
Yeah, I think that the scariest part for defenses, I know it's crazy to say the scariest part about Jakobi Meyers, but the scariest part truly is if they can get somebody that can actually win over the top of the defense and clear out some space for Meyers to work at that intermediate level. Now we're really cooking with gas. So if they can get into the draft and they can get a true burner on the outside that can take the top off and kind of push that coverage down the field and give Meyers even more space in the middle of the field to operate, then you really think that there's going to be some real production out of him moving forward. This 169 yards, 12 receptions. I know Edelman had a big game in week 2 against Seattle. I can't really think of another game that, other than maybe that game in the last 2 years, where a Patriots wide receiver played as well as Jakobi Meyers did tonight. That was as good of a game for a Pats wideout I've seen for the last 2 years. Now, there's one nitpick thing I do want to get on him. He's got to learn how to create after the catch a little bit better. And he had that one play where he was open at the sticks and he kind of reversed field and went backwards instead of forwards, and he ended up giving up the first down. Somebody will teach him how to drop step there and just get right up the field.
He had one earlier in the game where it actually gained enough yards, in almost the same exact setup, where he did take one step back and 2 steps forward and got the first down. I think he probably had that in his head there. Later in that late game scenario, and he cost them, and that's what set up the 4th down, right?
Right, yeah. So that's the only nitpick I would have for him, and honestly, I'm sure that's something that they can coach into him. As soon as he is able to catch that ball, and instead of false stepping back up the field and just get right up field and get right into yak mode, he's going to be able to pick up some more yards after the catch as well and tack on to some of these catches, because his technique at the top of the route, his hands too, and his ability, his ball skills just in general to go down and catch low throws. I mean, this was a complete clinic by Jakobi Meyers against a bad secondary and a bad defense, no doubt, but this was definitely as promising of a performance from a young Patriots wide receiver as we've seen in quite some time.